And welcome, everyone. So we're going to talk about part 3 of this series, which is all about commercializing your good idea. This is a unique part of the series because this is where you have to rely on some others to help you get your idea across, whether it be a SCORE volunteer or whether it be a marketing consultant, an e-commerce consultant of some kind. You're just going to have to partner with this entity to really push your idea across. So what you see here on the first screen are some other logos of some companies that we at SCORE had mentored. And the message to this screen, guys, is if they can do it, you can do it. So let's start off by saying that when you're a startup, what you want to do is be a pain in the neck to the biggest guy on the block. You know, I say the goal of every startup is to have your competition recognize you as the problem. There are some examples there. You know, the Marriott folks did not want to see Airbnb come on board to any hospitality category. The same with Honeywell and, you know, the Nest thermometers and temperature devices, Mr. Coffee and the Keurigs. You know, it's an opportunity for you to be not only recognized by them as a problem, but eventually possibly purchased and acquired by them, which would be a tremendous wealth building opportunity. So today we'll cover sales. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not a sales expert. There are people at SCORE who are tremendously experienced in sales management and sales strategies. And much of what I'll show you today is kind of top line and very generalized, but it'll put some ideas in your head, I hope, on how to move forward. We're going to talk about the importance of a dynamic value proposition and how often the right value proposition often determines success or failure of that MVP or minimum viable product. We'll talk about the Procter & Gamble playbook. And it's called the Procter & Gamble playbook because these are the guys that really brought this to light to the business world back in the 50s and 60s. When product managers from Procter & Gamble would walk into a meeting room, they would often be discombobulated and very unfocused. What the executives there said, all we need from you are 3 things. And these 3 things have been used throughout business since the 50s and 60s. I'll show you examples of these 3 rules and how they're put into practice. We have to create a sustainable business. And for those B2C folks out there and B2B, it doesn't matter if you're selling to businesses or selling to other consumers. You want to build a brand of some kind. And we'll talk about the importance of why this is so critical to a young business. And lastly, if you have a new idea and if you have a patented idea, there's an opportunity to license this and acquire revenue in ways that you would not be, you'd be surprised at the revenue that you could acquire simply by licensing your idea. That's what I want to say. All right, so this is part 3. As I said, after parts 1 and 2, your website should be completed and it must convey a powerful value proposition. So one of the logos that you saw on my first slide was a company from Akron that was a finalist in the Key for Women pitch contest in 2021. They had a draft name of RuSense. Now they've actually created a name of Sweat ID. And right smack dab on the first page of their landing page website is everybody, not everybody, everybody has a unique sweat profile. Sweat ID is the only fabric sensor that gives personalized output for wellness and optimized athletic performance. And when you read that, you're saying, what? There's actually a fabric that can measure sweat and tell me how my performance is and my general well-being, how out of shape or how in shape I am. That is a tremendous, compelling value proposition. And that is what it takes to really grab people's attention. Here are some other companies. Here are some, these are relatively new companies that have started within the last year. Soul Insole, for example, just simply stated, it's the fast, natural way to get relief from foot pain. Now, they're not talking about comfort, they're talking about foot pain. Now, what's interesting here is these folks want to take Dr. Scholl's on at the shelf in drugstores or in retail. And that's a dynamic, compelling value proposition where they're talking about foot pain. They'll relieve foot pain. They're not talking about comfort. NicoBlock, it's the easy way to quit nicotine. That's 10 times more effective than trying to quit cold turkey. They're categorically saying 10 times. That's a real attention getter. So let's talk about the P&G playbook and my favorite 3 rules for selling anything, whether it be yourself or a product or a service. So what you see there is QVC because I put that there for a purpose because these are the folks that utilize these 3 rules every day. And I actually had the opportunity to present products to QVC on 2 occasions. They had me simply sit down and they had me go through the 3 rules, which number 1 is, David, can you explain in 1 sentence why your product is better or improves the life and experience of your end user? And it basically is your elevator speech, your 11-second elevator speech. How can you grab somebody's attention with a simple 1 or 2 sentences? The reason to believe, this is your secret sauce. For some of you out there who have patents or intellectual property, this is what the secret sauce is, the reason to believe. Because when you buy a product, you want the confidence that whatever you buy is going to work. So, often with a service, it is a unique way of doing things or the creation of something more efficient. A good example of that is Subway. Their secret sauce was originally your ability to build your own sandwich rather than order it over the counter and then have somebody in the back make it. Excuse me. So number 3 is probably the most important for a physical product is the wow demonstration, which visually shows performance. And you can see that to your left. Like for example, 2 floor cleaners, 2 vacuum cleaners, side by side to each other. My product is better and I'll prove it. You could do this for a service too. You could show how efficient it is, how more timely it is, how it provides delivery of something faster, better, cheaper. So those 3 rules really govern, the commercialization of any product or service. Here are some examples. If you buy an Apple iPhone, their 11-second elevator speech in their commercials are probably the gold standard in the industry. The reason to believe is probably the most famous one. Our computers are good because we have Intel inside. We use the Pentium processor. And lastly, the wow demonstrations, again, some gold standards here. Flex Seal, we've seen that on TV countless times of the guy, Phil Swift, fixing a canoe with Flex Seal or preventing water from coming into a building during a flood, and Plexiderm. You can literally show somebody bags under their eyes, literally disappearing. So let's talk about sales. So as I said earlier, this is a great time to really talk about bringing somebody into your organization, such as a SCORE mentor or a professional salesperson who can help you develop strategy. The strategies are the sales channels. Are you a B2B channel? Are you specialty niche? Like, for example, stationery and office supplies. E-commerce, are you a better e-commerce product than a retail product? Are you easily shippable, for example? And lastly, retail brick and mortar, of course. Often it is the most challenging channel because of some of the co-op advertising that the retailer may ask you to provide. And it's very difficult to reach a buyer. It's very difficult to get the attention of a buyer. That's why e-commerce has become so popular. All right, so let's talk about the tactics. I mentioned strategy. The sales channel is the strategy. The tactics are how you get into that channel. And I'm often asked, how do I know what my best channel is? Well, I and others would say it's not the easiest to get into, but you have to look at what channel will give you the highest revenue. Because at the end of the day, it is imperative that you begin to generate revenue as early as possible. Because when you generate revenue, you open yourself up to all kinds of opportunities in terms of acquiring additional funds, either from a line of credit at a bank or simply investor funds. So some tactics, the question is, well, am I the salesperson or do I need to hire a sales team? Often the CEO of the company becomes the first salesman and develops the sales script. Should I sell to a distributor? Or should I use a commissioned rep agency? And I'll mention the differences between these two in a few slides. This is often confused as to, where do I go in terms of, bringing somebody on to sell my physical product. E-commerce, direct to a customer. This is the most, this area of tactics in commercialization in the last 20 years has revolutionized commerce. And, as we'll find out, as already, actually, this is one of the most, it could be the most profitable and easiest to enter, but yet sometimes has unique challenges that only an expert can help you with. And lastly, licensing. Some of you may not be cut out to be a CEO and want to generate other ideas. And one way to do this is to get your product in front of a channel captain, a company that is expert in the channel and could drive your product to full revenue generation. So let's talk about e-commerce. And again, what I'm going to do here, guys, is just give you some overviews, some top line concepts, to move further into e-commerce. We could bring in a SCORE mentor, or hopefully some ideas will kick you off into some other folks who could help you drill down even further. For service-based companies, it is important that the Google search ranking, ranks you high. As I learned from, a Mimi Magazine professional, some of you know what Mimi Magazine is. It is probably one of the premier publications in Northeast Ohio for pointing you in the direction of a service company that can help you with anything from fixing roofs to painting your home. What you need is an accurate Google business profile. and good quality reviews, a lot of quality reviews. That kicks you up into the rankings, because when they say, house painters near me in a search, you will pop up on that first page, which is, the golden territory. Successful e-commerce paths, again, some very top line bullet points here. I always advise to create a Shopify cart. And if you have a physical product, begin selling on your own website. It is often the most cost efficient and easily controllable method of getting your product into the marketplace. You can learn from what your customers are saying, and you can generate your 5-star reviews by having a page there where customers can review your product. And these reviews are a platform for expansion. For example, if you were to take your product then from the e-commerce world into the brick and mortar world, the very first thing a buyer does is go to Amazon or go to your website and see exactly what kind of reviews you have in the category. An idea that I was exposed to about a year ago was YouTube. If you have a product that is easily demonstratable, we go back to that wow demonstration. If it's easily demonstratable, you can literally create a business by using YouTube and video demonstrations and sell your product right on that site. Amazon, oh boy. We can talk about Amazon. It used to be 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Amazon used to be kind of cool and easy to maneuver and work around and negotiate all of the ins and outs. Now it's not so much. I will 100% say budget for and hire an Amazon consultant. For example, I currently work with a company here in town. I help them with their analytics and dashboard. And it is really interesting. He started out by selling about $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month on Amazon, and then he hired a product manager, which cost him about $1,000 a month, at $2,000 a month, I think, as a consultant, and he went from about $2,500, $3,000 a month in sales to $100,000 a month in sales in about 6 months. It was quite amazing. There are 2 ways to sell through Amazon. Many of you know this. You can sell direct to your customer, or it can be fulfilled by Amazon. And number 2 is the most optimal, because you're selling pallets of your product to a warehouse somewhere in the United States, where Amazon is then picking and mailing and selling to a customer. And again, my best advice is hire an Amazon professional. The reason for that is, here is an actual spreadsheet that I have worked up within the last year. This is kind of dated, but this is from May of 2022. This is actual numbers from my client's Amazon program. You can see from April 29th to May 4th, he sold $4,000 worth of product. But within those $4,000 worth of product that he sold, are 7 cost centers. All right, so you're subtracting all that money from the $4,000 in sales, and let me move my, and that gives you $2,069 left in profit. Now, that does not include cost of goods. So you take your cost of goods out of there, and you have your net profit. Your net profit, again, as we talked about in part 1, or I think it was part 2, your net profit is the money you have after you've paid all of these fees and all of your cost of goods have been accounted for. So as we go through about just 2 or 3 weeks there, he sold $32,000 worth of product, and he's left with about $15,000 in profit, gross profit, before the cost of goods have been taken out. So as you can see there, it's quite costly, and my advice is to have a nice fat gross margin before you even enter Amazon territory. And you probably say, David, what is your big fat gross margin that you want to target? I would say about 70, 80% would be a good place to start. All right, so social media. We always talk about social media. So important in the world of e-commerce. For example, on the Amazon side, anything that you write will support your Amazon content. You can generate that into your landing page or into your product page, and everything that you have there, website, videos, blogs, can be supporting your e-commerce activities. An idea that some folks use are niche and specialty websites to begin before they even touch Amazon, before they even touch a larger national program. A niche program would be websites that cater to a very, very specific category. Well, and I have an example here. You've invented a squirrel-proof bird feeder. It is a unique design. It is something different that's on the marketplace, and it keeps squirrels away from your bird feeder. Well, how do I get onto the market? How do I get my feet wet, and start to generate some sales? Well, there are some websites specifically geared towards bird feeders, believe it or not, specifically geared towards folks who have a hobby in aviary, I believe, aviary activities. Woodlink, for example, woodlink.com. This you could certainly begin by contacting them and getting onto their commercial site and selling some squirrel-proof bird feeders. Etsy and eBay, that certainly is a great option to Amazon. I've been told that it's much easier to negotiate those two websites. I have not done personally, but I know plenty of people who have. Some newer platforms out there that I've run across, Range. These are it's retail buyers. Excuse me. If you work for a brick and mortar retailer, your boss always wants you to bring in the next best thing, something different. And Range is a website that a retail buyer would peruse to look at some interesting new concepts in a specific category, whether it be home and garden or bath, household, whether it be medical devices. I would certainly explore that. Website called Jet.com. They believe they can challenge Amazon. So, that becomes an option also to jump on to that website and see if you can't generate some revenue. Let's talk about brand building. I was introduced the importance of brand building when I was in the automotive aftermarket. I worked for a company called Blue Coral, which was later purchased by Pennzoil Corporation. And I learned that brand is a tangible asset. To the right there, you see a balance sheet. That the accountants would actually have a line item called goodwill, brand goodwill. There's actually a number you can attach to that brand, that equity that you've built in the brand. And that brand equity becomes a tangible asset. Literally, that is what somebody can buy. So spending money to build a brand often comes back to benefit you in many ways. then, well, the question you ask then, and the question everybody should ask is, how do I build a brand inexpensively? Because we all know that it costs money. We have all heard of the famous Super Bowl ads, $1 million a minute to get your brand in front of America. Well, there's a number of categories, as you see there: pets, leisure, cosmetics, beauty, food service, senior citizens. Each one of them have their own barrier to entry financially. How much money do I have to spend to enter each one of these categories and to build my brand? 10 years ago, there was no Chewy.com servicing the pet industry. Now it's one of the most valuable brands in America in the pet industry. How did they do it? By the way, the most expensive brand there, or the most expensive category to participate in, to build a brand, is beauty and cosmetics. So the best bang for the buck, please consider QVC or home shopping. It's great for results-oriented products: cleaning, beauty, fashion, tools, jewelry, exercise, wellness, etc. Any category that you can show a before and after. It is perfect for visually oriented demonstrations, which in this case is TV. QVC, home shopping, love U.S. small business entrepreneurs. They want the American success story. They want to tout that on TV. They have high margin needs, though. So again, I go back to my suggestion of have your gross margins higher than 60, 70%. So you have room to play with opportunities like this. It's actually quite simple to get their attention. Just go to their website, fill out the application form. I recently did this in 2017 when I was working with a company. I was contacted within a week and a half, and we eventually had a presentation, and they got the attention. This company got the attention of QVC, and it was quite easy. It is the highest impact brand building for a B2C company because simply you're on TV. The biggest bugaboo with QVC back in the day, in the 90s and early 2000s was, they wanted you to have a ton of inventory. They wanted you to spend your money on providing them with 50,000 units of something that they can pick and choose from in their warehouse and sell up and mail out. They don't do that anymore. They found out that it scares away too many people, and now they will work with you very conveniently to build enough inventory where in 1 minute they can determine if you're going to be a success. Their algorithms will kick out data, in a 2-minute segment or a 1-minute segment where they simply introduce your product, and if there's X number of packages, products moving from their warehouse at that point, they will ask you to come back for maybe a longer 8-minute session or maybe a 20-minute session. And lastly, you can use the playbook as they do. The 3 things is just simply 3 things that they ask of you. When I went for my presentation there, it took about 20 minutes. I flew to Philadelphia, sat down in the conference room, and boom, Dave, what is your 11-second elevator speech? Number 2, what is your reason to believe? And 3, show me a demo that I can get excited about. They call it the big find. Again, just to show you that they are looking for people like us out there. These brands, Central Mountain Coffee, Clio and Coco, all of these brands now have started their journey on QVC, and they are all successful. For B2B entrepreneurs, okay, let's get into some business to business. The big question is, should I find a distributor or should I use a manufacturing rep? Distributors are kind of interesting, but they need a reason to sell your product. Again, let's go back to the QVC playbook or the Procter & Gamble playbook. The three things that'll get them excited. The reason why they need a reason to sell your product is because they have hundreds of other products that are really in their warehouse that they need to push also. So they have to make a decision. Do I sell as a distributor easy, high volume products that maybe not have such a high gross margin? Or do I sell a very specialty, high margin product that I may not sell hundreds of them, but if I need to, I may be selling 10 of them a week, but they're high gross margin and they pay the bills. When you're dealing with a distributor, training a group is always more difficult. You have to talk to about 20, 25 people at a time, and you have to show them how to use the product and how to communicate the features and benefits and value proposition of your product to their customers. The beauty of a distributor is they'll buy your product in large volumes and they will carry the inventory. So you can ship, if you are manufacturing your product, you can ship it on pallets and generate significant revenue like that. Manufacturer's rep, a little different. They're more relationship driven. These are the folks that take the purchasing people out for lunch and really work the gears to get products positioned and into an organization. They may have fewer customers per territory than a distributor. They are more relationship driven, and you can find these folks really working out of their house. And I've used them, and they can make you quite successful. They only provide a business arrangement. They don't do anything other than that. They may help you strategize. They may help you with some tactics in terms of marketing collateral or sales collateral, but they generally don't do anything more than that. They won't carry your inventory. You ship then to the customer. On a commission basis, they'll take about 10 to 20% of the sell-in number. For faster moving and high price materials, if you're doing $1 million, generally 5% is the number that they would take based on that. It's a $50,000 a year business for them. So that 10%, you can work your way on down from that. So as you sell less, they take more, basically. Trade shows, highly recommended for any business, whether it be B2B or B2C. It's a 2 to 3 day show. It may cost you $6,000 to $8,000. It may cost more with travel and meals and et cetera, but it's always worth it. You're going to be meeting customers, distributors, the reps. You're going to be meeting everybody in the industry and possibly end up doing a deal of some kind. Customers that are there, they're going to certainly place orders. If you want to license your product, the best way to do that is to meet the decision makers at their booths and strike up a conversation on what you have to offer. So in summary then, guys, here are some things. Create the best website you can afford and continuously update it with content. Provide the customer with the ability to review your product. Again, the reviews are gold in this newer economy. I like to soft launch when possible. It always lowers risk. Launch locally, then nationally. Some things you don't want to do is build a ton of inventory just to lower your costs. because that is your MVP, right? Because you may end up tweaking it in some way. Do not take quality for granted. I just had an experience about a year ago where somebody decided to make 50,000 units in China, and they, surprise, what they thought they had given them as a spec turned out to be interpreted by them as something else. So they had 50,000 units that are kind of different than what they had originally thought they could sell. So they had to live with that. And a big mistake that people make is, they're handling the details. No worry, I can focus on something else. Well, what you want to do as the CEO and developer of the product or service, the inventor of the product or service, is you have to get really in the details, at least for the first couple months. Get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, and if you have to be there on the manufacturing line, watching those products come off the line, you have to do that. Lastly, let's talk about licensing your product. You may not want the responsibility of starting a business and running a company. I get that. I'm currently working with a few folks like that. They have other ideas. They want to invent, develop, and sell, and go on to something else. You must have a patent if you want to do that. Again, talk about tangible assets, because if you want to license a product, it is the patent that the other company will buy. That becomes the tangible asset that you sell. Some hints, helpful hints. Step one, excuse me. You want to apply for a provisional patent. Again, you don't have to spend $15,000 right out of the gate in getting a patent. Get a provisional patent. It's about $1,000. Actually, you might want to use LegalZoom, which is a lot less expensive. And that patent will last you 1 year. You can knock on a number of doors and legitimately say patent pending, without fear of that idea being stolen, and test the waters and see if anybody will buy the product. Step two is, after you get your provisional patent, outline your list of companies that you want to approach. My advice is to always go for not number one in the marketplace. Go for number 2, 3, or 4, because they are the most open to innovation, because they want to be number one, of course. So they will look at you and they will certainly give you the time of day. You want to find a company with a large distribution network, a general track record of innovation. You want to find somebody with younger management, who want to make their mark and grow that company. And I say, don't be shy, because they want to meet you, and you want to meet them. So there's a nice little synergy there. More on best approaches. Please remember that not every company is open to innovation. A lot of not invented here is out there. So you have to find the right company. Finding the right company is generally done at the trade show. Okay? Because you can walk the booths, walk the aisles, and meet the right people. Crowded, competitive industries are best. Excuse me again. They are competitive for a reason. They're always searching for new ideas. Cold calling, you're going to have to do that. Do not call R&D and do not call the sales department. Your best approaches are with senior level marketing or senior level executives. I mentioned the trade show environment. I've had success there. It never fails. You have to convince them that you are the expert, and that you can help them actually as an advisor or a consultant then as they bring your product or idea on board. And again, there is no standard deal. Everybody says, well, the licensing deal must be this. No, it doesn't have to be anything. It can be anything that you want it to be or anything that you negotiate with that company. Whether it be a percent of sales or an outright purchase, or even an employment contract. So there is no standard deal. So lastly, I know I brushed through a lot of these concepts that are actually quite complex. I would advise you to find a mentor through SCORE. As Dan had mentioned, there's the link there to request free local mentoring. Myself or others, certainly more experienced in sales, will come on board and sit with you and develop a good strategy and a good tactics. So thank you. If there's any questions or clarifications, we can talk about them now, or again, wait until you sign up with SCORE. So thank you very much.
Dave, we have one item in the chat. Question about licensing. I am a surface pattern designer with proprietary designs, which can be placed on just about any products. I'm interested in how to go about licensing designs, which is an intellectual property issue rather than a product or patent issue, I would think.
Yeah. Generally, the designs I would believe are copyrighted or trademarked in some way. Or if you have a process that is unique for putting the design on the surface. But there are many ways to do that. Is the question on how to do it, Dan?
No, that's all I have here. Irma, George, if you're still on, if you want to re-enter something in the chat, or see if I can. Let me see if you're still here and I can get you into the session. Yeah, Irma, Irma, your mic is live if you'd like to.
Oh yeah, Irma. You're muted.
Let's see if, okay. Irma, if you would unmute, it's a little microphone on the lower right of your screen and you can join the conversation.
Hello.
Yeah, yes, there you are, Irma.
Hi. Yeah, I was just wondering how, what's the playbook look like when you, licensing designs to companies?
Are these, well, generally, you would get a trademark or a copyright on the design that you are licensing.
Okay, yeah, copyright. I do have that.
Right.
And I have a number of designs, and I thought I'd want to maybe license some of them to generate capital.
Right. So what you want to do is just simply find the category or industry that those designs would be applicable in.
Home decor.
Home decor. Okay. Then you would find a home decor company that would be appropriate. What an example of the design would be what, Irma?
Well, I'm not sure your question.
Okay.
Well,
let me ask you this. Is this like a design for a rug or a piece of cloth, or
it could be rugs, it could be fabric, it could be wallpaper.
Right. The way this might work with a company that's making the cloth, an OEM manufacturer of the cloth rather than the finished goods, I think is where you might want to start, is that you license the use of your design based on the volume of the product they're going to produce, and you get paid by volume there. You have to have a lawyer in the picture there to help you negotiate that deal. Don't try and do that yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's one thing. Now, the other thing, if you have, for instance, a pattern for quilts, let's say, which is a knitting design, you might want to sit down with a company that actually manufactures these and show them your designs, and ask them to license your design, again, based on volume. And you also need one other thing, Irma. You need a way to audit that you're getting paid for the actual volume they're producing.
Ooh, how would I do that?
Well, you have that in your agreement where you have inspections by a third party, might come in once a month, and they would have to open their books and show them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So many units shipped. Let's say you license a design for a throw pillow, all right, and they produce 1,000 of these pillows with your design, and they pay you for 1,000. Well, that's good, but another company might, have sloppy bookkeeping or have other designs on your design. You want someone to come in and you want to say, show me your shipping record, show me how many of these you shipped, and then you compare it to what you were paid. If they underpaid you, you have recourse.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But you do need to have eyes on the company that licenses your stuff. You just can't trust them. It's trust but verify is what somebody famous once said.
Right. So, yeah, that is something to think about.
Now, one of the ways that you can do this also is that you can put the designs into software, and you can license the software. And there are ways to set up the software so it can only be used so many times. And if they want to use it, another 1,000 times, they have to buy 1,000 uses from you.
Ooh, that sounds expensive, is it?
It can be expensive, but if you're going to have volume of 100,000, a run of 100,000 units, that makes sense. It depends on your volume.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you're selling relatively small volume, you're still going to want to have a lawyer to help you write the agreement.
Mm-hmm. So so how do I go about pricing something like that?
It depends on, well, Dave's talking about your margin. So let's say it costs you, $5 to produce the design, and you want a margin of 70%. You just go from there on what the markup would be for the actual sale of the per unit of the design produced by the vendor. So for every vendor that uses your design on one of their products, you get your cost plus the 70% market. That's what they have to pay you. So that'd be some way to calculate it.
Okay.
Irma, another hint or tip, you might want to do a Google search on design licensing or licensing of a certain type of design that's very similar to what you have done.
Mm-hmm.
There are tons of information out there, whether it be YouTube or Google, on just about any topic. And that's certainly some place to start.
Let me ask you a question, Amber. How do you make your designs? Do you do them with pencil and paper? Do you do it with software? How do you make your designs?
I do them with pencil and paper, and I did have I do photos too, and I, kind of manipulate those photos. I had a program where I could use it to manipulate the designs to make them any color or combination of colors, but I no longer have that program. So, but I have enough designs on hand, that I did when I did do them.
Yeah.
So
I was going to suggest is if you get the revenue to the point where you can afford it, if you have the designs in software, your licensing deals will be a lot easier.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Okay, so that's something to think about in the future there. Okay, so anyone else has it's a Q&A here. Let me go to the Q&A. Irma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the Q&A. Here's from Jonathan Dorinza. Johnson Dorinza, beg your pardon, sorry for mispronouncing your name. Can you use more than one sales channel, or should you choose B2B or others? So let's Dave, did you want to take that?
Sure. Once you choose there is no rule on keeping to any sales channel nowadays, certainly. Back in the days before e-commerce, there was something called channel conflicts, where, like, for example, you don't want to sell your product to a distributor, and then that distributor sells your product to a store, and you're selling to the store. So now who does the store buy the product from? You or the distributor? And generally it'll be a price issue. So then if you get that far then you're all confused. You're all, so you don't want to avoid situations like that. But in certain industries, B2B is one of them. It's very possible to use many channels or many avenues to your customer. because then the customer decides on which channel is best for him.
Now, the other thing you can think about is geographic territories. For instance, let's say you're selling B2B in the greater Cleveland, but your distributor does not sell outside of, say, Northeast Ohio. Well, if you come up with a distributor in Cincinnati, you're in the clear because they're not in conflict with each other. So keep in mind that geography matters. That's something also to think about. Ask your distributor, well, what's the scope of what's your sales territory? And so as long as you know what that is, if you get to a distributor or direct sales outside of the distributor's territory, you don't have a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We got one other question, Stacy Grant. Stacy wants to know if there's other replay. Stacy, this is live streamed to YouTube. There'll be a recording on YouTube at Score Cleveland at the YouTube channel that we have. Give us a couple of days because it has to be edited and cleaned up a little bit. So by the end of the week, you should be able to get into Score Cleveland and see a complete replay, not only of Dave's presentation for version 3, but also for everybody. Dave did a version 1 and a version 2. It's a complete set. And so for those of you who come in just for version 3, please do take the opportunity to see sessions 1 and 2. I think that is it on the Q&A. Anyone else coming in? Don't have anything else in the chat. Dave, thank you so much for a great presentation. And again, you can get a mentor at Score Cleveland. And if you want to see a replay, go to the Score YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.